the interviewer shouldn't be as interesting as the interviewee, right? Their job is to be interested because they're pulling. Somebody got to be a puller. If they're too interesting, then what will begin to happen is the interviewee will become the interviewer. Welcome to Let's Get Rich. I'm Yahlil Lakwame, and today I want to share a few speaking tips on how we can be better speakers, better influencers, and also better interviewers, right? The first tip is projecting ourselves. A lot of us are convinced that we're projecting ourselves because we speaking loud, but just because we speaking loud doesn't mean we projecting ourselves. We could just be turning the volume up on our insecurities. Okay. And what do I mean by projecting ourselves if it's not just pertaining to speaking loud? Okay. I like to, when I project myself, speak from a certain confidence, right? And to do so, I like to remind myself that I'm generally interested. That's what people want to hear from the interviewer, that you're interested. Okay, because they're interested. As the interviewer, you want to remember that you are the audience. You are asking questions for the audience. Okay, so you are assuming the curiosity, okay, of the audience, right? And they are seeking a certain wisdom. They are seeking answers to a certain, right, problem or question, right? So we're going to ask as we're generally, right? We're generally interested, right? And what do I mean by being generally interested? I'm gonna give two examples on how we can ask a question. Okay, how are you doing today? Right? How are you doing today? Right? And the difference is not too much of a big difference, but the difference is one was already, it's almost like a reflex, right? There wasn't so much intent behind it. But the second one, right, there was a little bit more intent behind it because I generally not only want to know how you're doing today, but I want you to know that I'm interested in how you're doing today. So your vibration change when you are projecting yourself. When you're projecting yourself, it's not just about volume. I'm projecting my intentions. I have to project my curiosity. I have to project my studenthood. I have to even project my teacherhood, right? It's an energy I'm projecting and not just my voice. Okay, so I have to project my general curiosity, right, into receiving the answers to the questions that I'm asking as the interviewer. It'd be better, right? No matter if we're blogging, no matter if we're reporting, right? No matter if we're interviewing one on one or group, or even doing public speaking, right? Whenever there's a question, even if the microphone is on the other hand, right? Whenever there's a question, we should be asking as if we're generally interested. Because what did it mean if we aren't generally interested? What are we telling, right? The person we're interviewing, the interviewee, right? We're telling them that they can just run through this list of answers that they have. We don't need someone running through a list. We need them to also be genuinely giving us the answer, right? Their wholehearted answer. We don't need them just checking things off the list, right? They answer may include a story. They answer may include some experience, right? We don't need them just checking off the list and going through this as if it's just another task that they have to finish. Interviewing and delivering, right? Wisdom in any way, shape, or form, right? Even if you're explaining a service or a product, right? It isn't about checking things off the list, right? It's more or less conveying a message. And when I'm conveying a message, I'm telling a story mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? People looking at your body language, people listening to your voice. But also, we listening for that story. We listening to those personal references, those experiences as well, right? So yes, being generally interested will cause the interviewee, okay, to also be genuinely interested in giving you the answer. In fact, they'll become more interesting. Okay, your job is to pull as the interviewer all the interesting attributes out of the interviewee. Yes, that's your job. We are creating a good show. If there's ever an interviewer and an interviewee, there's a good show. Okay, the potential of a good show, the potential of a power-packed time for people to receive value, to receive a good explanation of on a product or a service, right, or an idea. It is a great time to captivate the audience, put on a show. And if the audience is going to be captivated, they need to know that the person they're receiving from is interesting. And they're interesting because they really genuinely interested in what they're doing. And the interviewer is also great at pulling out the interesting aspects of the interviewee. Does that make sense? Yes. And they're doing this with their own body. They're doing this with their own body. I give another example. We can ask, how you doing? Right? Or somebody can say, how you doing? Right? Just a different vibe. I'm utilizing my body, right? I'm giving you a good example on what I mean by how you doing. And also, I'm showing you a little bit more that I care and interested in how you doing, right? Facial expressions, or body language, all of this is a projection of yourself, right? And as you project yourself more and you learn how to project yourself more alone and with different people that you're already around, people you've already been around, when you learn how to project yourself more, as you cultivate more self-awareness, it'd be easier to project yourself when you're around strangers. You can have a group, a new team, a classroom, doesn't matter, a new interviewee, a new product, a new service. But you'll have that ability, right, to be able to turn the volume up on the show, or at the least have the ability to navigate it towards a confident direction and towards a good episode when you operate in confidence per se. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna project ourselves, and we're gonna do that by speaking as if we generally interested. Second thing is not trying to be too interesting. Yeah, see, because the interviewer's job isn't to be interesting; they're supposed to be interested, right? So sometimes some people may go to a point they want to add a lot of different accolades, right? Add a lot of different gimmicks, or what I like to call they just add a bunch of things to their own delivery that may not be necessary. Okay? So the interviewer shouldn't be as interesting as the interviewee, right? Their job is to be interested because they're pulling. Somebody got to be a puller. If they're too interesting, then what will begin to happen is the interviewee will become the interviewer. Yeah, the dynamics will shift. Right? The interviewee may say, "Well, what do you got? What do you think about this? What do you feel what I mean?" They'll begin to ask you questions, and whenever the dynamics begin to change, remember that the interviewee is taking your position, right? It's naturally shifting because you wasn't standing in your position by being the person whose job is to pull the interest and attributes out of the person by being the person who's interested, right? When I'm interesting, I'm less interested. You have to know that. When I'm interesting, I'm less interested. Okay? I utilize that philosophy when I'm teaching people who are mentoring others, when I'm teaching people who are teaching other people, right? When I'm teaching people who are even producing and managing and leading other people, right? I tell them to test this, but when they're in the room, how long are you speaking? And when you are speaking, are you asking questions? An interested person gonna ask questions. Period. This is why it's the job of the interviewer to be interested. They're there to ask the questions. This is why we need to be asking the questions in a sense of curiosity, like we're truly interested. Because you can't play. You ever try to play like you was interested, or had people around you that's trying to pretend to be interested, or pretend like they having fun, or pretend? It's hard to pretend to be interested, right? It's a very obvious thing. Anyone can see it. You can feel it. The interviewer, hey, so what do you think about the move bombing back in Philadelphia at this time, and what was your right response to receiving this knowledge as you grew up and right cultivated the person you are? Right, it's going to sound a lot different if you're not interested versus if you are interested. Right, asking this question, um, the move bombing back in '70. I know it was a lot going on, okay, but you specifically, you a different type of individual, and I know, right, with all your mental training, as far as your meditations and right, all your mindfulness exercises and activities, I know that you have a particular perspective, right? I'm interested in your perspective. My wording is showing you how interested, right? And where exactly can you pull those interesting attributes from? See, I'm guiding you to giving me the answers because this is our audience, right? The interviewer understands that this is our audience, right? They are the host. They are the real host of the entire event. And sometimes their faces aren't seen, but the energy is felt. The energy is felt, and it's not about it being a loud energy, it's a balanced energy, right? A good canvas, a beautiful art, right? That the interviewee done laid out, right? Or the interviewer has laid out, rather. The interviewee, just a few colors on that canvas. That's it. The variables in the interview are just other colors. The environment just add other colors, but it's the interviewee the interviewer that then laid out the canvas. They gave the brushes to everybody. They the ones that went up to the interview and put the interviewee and put their mic on. They said, "We're gonna put your mic on here, right? We're gonna put you right there. You ready? Tell them 3, 2, 1, cut. Right? Action." They're guiding the whole show, and they need to understand that's the confidence that they need to have. The interviewee is the producer. Okay, the interviewee, well, excuse me, the interviewer is the producer. The interviewer is the director. The interviewer can even be the cameraman, the person manning the camera. But they need to understand their responsibilities as the overseer of the entire project, right? Within the project, they are the floor manager within the project, right? Their job is to oversee the entire the management process of what's going on the floor, right? Where's everything placed? Do we have all our needs, right? Because I can't give a proper interview if I begin needing things, right? I have lights, they may be battery operated, or they dying, they wasn't charged. I have microphones that need to be charged, right? Halfway through an interview and they stop. This is going to change. Not only is it going to change the interview, but it's going to change my confidence if I keep allowing this to happen, right? If I keep making these type of mistakes, I'm like, wow, you're going to ask yourself, am I not a good interviewer, right? Or I'm going into certain situations thinking about things may die. Hold on, let me keep checking things, keep looking at things and not engaging with the project, right? So that's the last thing, or the next thing is to go through the list of needs prerequisite to the interview, right? A lot of these needs to be physical, a lot of these needs to be mental, and a lot of these needs to also be spiritual. Spiritual, we speaking on, right? Expressing ourselves as far as spiritual, we speaking on projecting ourselves, right? When we going through our task list of what's needed for this interview, we're going to make sure that we go through the physical, making sure we have all our tools, making sure the environment is where it needs to be. It's open if we shooting at the cafe, right? We also have other locations now, right? Making sure the environment is there, making sure the things and the variables within the environment that's needed for this interview to happen is there, right? Spiritually, making sure I'm projecting myself, making sure I understand how to project myself, and that it's not just about volume, that is also about me projecting who I am. I'm not just an interviewer. I'm a person too. I'm a person with purpose. Okay, so let's say I'm Picasso and I'm an interviewer today. That's right. I'm Picasso interviewing. I'm sitting different. I'm acting different because I'm Picasso. I'm bringing Picasso at the same time, and I'm Picasso interested. Why I'm interested? Because I'm a painter. I know I done spent a lot of my life only painting. There's a lot of things I don't know about, so I'm interested. You feel what I mean? As the interviewer, I'm interested. I'm sitting in front of right this particular engineer that's a brilliant engineer, right? A brilliant inventor, a brilliant entrepreneur. There's some things I need to ask this engineer. A lot of things I don't know. The engineer was just speaking to me about sound waves and the sound spectrums and EQ and things of that nature. I didn't know about these things, but I'm sure the audience don't know about these things, right? So just stepping into your own, that's what I mean, stepping into that curiosity. Oh, I really ain't know. Let me get in student mode, right? Because that's where the audience wishes to be. You are determining the energy you want the audience to have, right? And you're also guiding the energy you want the interviewee to have. You're doing a lot. So it's a lot of responsibility being the interviewer.